personality you built to survive is ruining your life now. And before you get defensive and tell yourself this is just who you are, do the ritual. Like the video. Subscribe. Comment something like, "Wow, okay." Share it with someone who's still living off instincts that were formed in a completely different chapter. There. Now let's talk about the part of you that once kept you safe and is now quietly suffocating you. You didn't choose this personality. You assembled it. Piece by piece, reaction by reaction, moment by moment. You learned what worked. You learned what didn't. You learned what got you love, approval, safety, or at least less trouble. And you adapted. You didn't become this way because it felt good. You became this way because it worked. At the time. That's the part people forget. Your personality wasn't a preference. It was a strategy. A survival strategy. You learned when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to be agreeable, when to be useful, when to disappear, when to become impressive, when to become invisible. You learned how to read the room better than you learned how to read yourself. You learned how to anticipate needs, how to smooth tension, how to avoid conflict, how to stay needed, how to stay unproblematic. And it worked. You survived, you got through, you made it out. But the environment changed, and you didn't. So now you're still living like danger is imminent, like approval is scarce, like mistakes are costly, like being yourself is risky. And that personality that once kept you safe is now running your life on outdated information. You're still acting like you're being evaluated, still acting like you're replaceable, still acting like one misstep could cost you everything. Even when none of that is true anymore. That's the trap. Your survival personality doesn't know the threat is over. It doesn't update automatically. It doesn't retire gracefully. It just keeps doing its job. And its job is protection. Not fulfillment, not joy, not honesty. Protection, so it keeps you small, careful, predictable, contained. You call it being responsible, mature, self-aware, low drama. But look at the cost. You don't say what you actually think. You don't ask for what you actually want. You don't let yourself need too much. You don't let yourself take up space. You manage yourself constantly. Your tone, your timing, your emotions, your reactions. You are always adjusting, always calibrating, always monitoring. Not because you're thoughtful, because your nervous system doesn't believe it's safe to stop. You didn't build a personality. You built armor, and armor is heavy. It protected you when you needed it. But you're wearing it in rooms where no one is attacking you anymore. So you feel exhausted, disconnected, restless, lonely, and you can't quite explain why. Because on paper you're doing fine. You're functional, capable, competent. You get things done. You show up. You handle things. But you don't feel like you're actually living. You feel like you're maintaining yourself. That's the difference. Survival personalities are excellent at maintenance. They are terrible at aliveness. They're built to endure, not to enjoy. Let's talk about how this personality formed. At some point, being fully yourself wasn't safe. Maybe it was criticized. Maybe it was ignored. Maybe it was punished. Maybe it was simply too much for the people around you. So you adjusted. You learned to be easier, quieter, more impressive, more helpful, less demanding. You learned which parts of you were acceptable and which parts needed to be hidden. You didn't repress yourself all at once. You trimmed. A little here, a little there, until you fit, and the world rewarded you for it. People liked you, relied on you, praised you, needed you. That reinforcement matters. It taught your nervous system, this works. Keep doing this. So you did. You refined it, perfected it, turned it into an identity. Now it doesn't feel like a strategy. It feels like you, but it's not you. It's who you became to survive. And survival strategies don't ask whether you're happy. They ask whether you're safe. So you stay in jobs that drain you. Because stability feels safer than alignment. You stay in relationships that don't meet you. Because being needed feels safer than being chosen. You keep your opinions measured, your emotions regulated, your desires modest. Because wanting too much once came with consequences. So now you want quietly, or not at all. You also struggle with intimacy in ways you don't talk about. Because intimacy requires dropping the performance. and the performance is what kept you safe. So you let people get close to the version of you that's polished, capable, easy, but not the part that's messy, needy, unsure, angry, longing. That part stayed hidden for a reason, and now you don't know how to bring it back without feeling like you're doing something wrong. You don't feel authentic, but you don't know who authenticity would even be anymore, because the survival personality has been in charge for so long that it feels like the only option. Another hard truth: your survival personality is conflict avoidant, not because you hate conflict, because conflict once meant loss of love, loss of safety, loss of belonging. So you learn to preempt it. You explain, you accommodate, you soften, you compromise, you absorb discomfort so others don't have to. And people love you for that. They call you easygoing, understanding, low maintenance. They don't see the cost. The cost is resentment, fatigue, emotional numbness. You don't explode, you disappear. You don't argue, you withdraw. You don't express anger, you turn it inward. And then you wonder why you're tired all the time. Because suppression takes energy. Constant self-monitoring takes energy. Being agreeable at the expense of honesty takes energy. You're exhausted because you're constantly overriding yourself. Your survival personality also hates uncertainty, because uncertainty once meant danger. So you plan, overthink, analyze, prepare. You don't move until you're sure. You don't decide until you've considered every angle. You don't start until you feel ready, and you rarely feel ready. So your life moves slowly, cautiously, incrementally. You tell yourself you're being responsible, but underneath that is fear. Fear of making the wrong choice, fear of being judged, fear of being exposed. Because exposure once hurt. Your survival personality learned that mistakes weren't just mistakes, they were evidence. Evidence you weren't good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. So now you aim for perfection. Or you avoid trying altogether, and you call that procrastination, or laziness, or lack of motivation. It's not. It's fear wearing discipline language. Another way this personality ruins your life. It keeps you loyal to outdated dynamics. You still relate to authority like it has power over your worth. You still seek approval from people who don't actually get to decide who you are. You still shrink in rooms where you don't need to. Because your body hasn't caught up to your age. You might be an adult now, but part of you is still operating like safety is conditional, so you don't relax, even when nothing is wrong. You wait for the other shoe. You brace for correction. You stay alert. That constant vigilance drains joy. You can't enjoy things fully, because enjoyment requires presence, and presence requires safety. You don't feel safe enough to let go. You also struggle with identity confusion, because the survival personality is reactive. It's defined by context. Who am I here? What's expected? What version of me works best? You adjust accordingly. But when you're alone, or when no one is asking anything of you, you feel strangely empty, because you never built a self. You built a responder, and responders need something to respond to. So stillness feels uncomfortable, boring, anxious. You don't know what to do when no one needs you, when no one is watching, when no one is evaluating. That's not because you're shallow. It's because you never had the luxury of self-exploration. You were too busy surviving. And now that survival mode is costing you intimacy, creativity, and joy. Here's the cruel irony. The personality that once protected you is now preventing the very things you want. You want connection, but you don't let people see you. You want peace, but you never stand down. You want meaning, but you avoid risk. You want to feel alive, but you keep yourself controlled. And every time something inside you pushes for more, the survival personality steps in and says, "Careful. Don't rock the boat. Don't need too much. Don't mess this up. Don't be difficult." It keeps you compliant, palatable, safe, and deeply unfulfilled. This isn't because you're broken. It's because you're loyal to a version of yourself that kept you alive, loyal to strategies that worked once, loyal to rules that no longer apply. Letting go of that personality feels like betrayal, because it saved you. But here's the truth you don't hear enough. You can honor what saved you. without letting it run your life forever. Survival mode is not a moral achievement. It's a phase, and phases are meant to end. You don't need to kill this personality. You need to retire it, thank it, acknowledge it, and stop letting it make decisions for a life it was never designed to live, because it was built for threat, not abundance, not freedom, not choice. You are not in the same environment anymore. But your nervous system doesn't know that yet, so it keeps you guarded, restrained, muted, and you call that being realistic. It's not realism, it's habit. The hardest part of all this? The survival personality will fight to stay in control. Because letting go means uncertainty, and uncertainty feels like danger to a system built on vigilance. So when you try to be more honest, more expressive, more direct, more alive, you feel guilt, shame, fear. You feel like you're doing something wrong. You're not. You're just stepping outside a role that once kept you safe. And roles don't like being abandoned. They protest, they warn, they catastrophize. They tell you you'll lose everything. You won't, but you will lose familiarity. And familiarity feels like safety, even when it's suffocating you. You're not failing at life, you're outgrowing a strategy, and outgrowing something that once saved you is one of the most disorienting things a person can experience. Because the thing you're trying to release is the thing you credit for your survival. So you hesitate, you stall, you rationalize, you stay in the middle, not fully surviving, not fully living, just maintaining. This isn't a call to action. It's not advice. It's not encouragement. It's clarity. The personality you built to survive did exactly what it was supposed to do, and now it's costing you the life it was never meant to give you. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you ready. Ready to stop living like danger is the baseline, and start finding out who you are when you don't have to earn your right to exist.